What's up, guys? Steve coming at you. Wanted to talk to you guys. No Stevie B. They're taking off my tank top. Um, no characters, no persona. Just one collector to a couple other collectors. Whoever may watch this. I wanted to do something for New Year's, but I wanted excuse me. Wanted to do something. I don't want to show off my list of Grail books that I hope to pick up in 2023. I really wanted to talk about the state of the comic book community as it stands now. What sparked it is, and I'm not going to mention the name because it's somebody that I respect as a YouTuber, as a fellow collector, and everything. But I watched a video, and he was really going hard on some people that arguably did or did not deserve it. But he was going pretty hard, and some of the things he said I just wholeheartedly disagreed with. And then it just spiraled downhill from there. I started thinking about, some of the posts that I see on Instagram, some of the other YouTube videos where the community has just fallen apart, man. And it's so divisive now. And it didn't used to be that way when I started my YouTube channel, 3 years ago, give or take. But it's become a place of bullies and gatekeepers. I mean, the hypocrisy that is coming from some members of the community it just really got to me. And I wanted to talk about, what my hopes are for 2023, for the new year. But that's my goal. My goal for this video was not to shame anyone. It's not to finger point and I'm not trying to climb on my high horse, because honestly, I'm insignificant in this community as a player. My tiny little channel. I'm not a major YouTuber. I don't have a million followers. I'm grateful for every 1,100, one of the 1,100 followers that I do have, and I think that's phenomenal. But in the grand scheme of the comic book community, I'm insignificant, and so I have no high horse to climb on. I don't have a dog in the race. I'm just one community member that sees a problem that I think everybody is seeing, but nobody wants to really address. Everybody has resorted to finger pointing and blame and all this, and it's starting to get out of hand, really. And I really want to. It's to the point where good people have left this community, not because they don't like the hobby. It's because they just can't stand the gatekeepers, the people that have, that have decided to take it upon themselves to tell other collectors how they should collect, what they should collect. Ridicule for buying FOMO books or whatever, and it's getting out of hand. You see it on Instagram a lot. It's people are just going hard. A book will come out. Most recently, the 30th anniversary of the death of Superman. Oh no, if you buy this book, you're an idiot, and it's FOMO, it's a money grab, it's a cash grab, and blah, blah, blah. And really ridiculing anybody who just wants the book, and I hate to break it to you guys, but not everybody buys a book because they're in fear of missing out on anything spectacular. They buy the book because they want the book and they love the book. I bought the 30th anniversary book, and I bought a couple of covers. It's not because I'm I think they're going to explode and be anything spectacular. It's because it's the 30th anniversary of the book that got me into comic books, which was Superman, Death of Superman, Superman 75. Boom. That was the one that started it for me. It was the one that started it for a lot of people. But the gatekeepers, the ridicule for people that want to buy that book just simply because they want the book, it's getting out of hand, and it's disintegrating the community that I really wholeheartedly love. And I know, and you people are going, well, if you don't like it, get out of the community, Steve. Nobody's making you stay. And you're right, nobody's making me stay. So why don't I leave? Well, I'm going to tell you why I don't leave. And this is the honest to God truth. Here's why I don't leave. Because for every one of those gatekeepers, the haters, the bullies, the ridicules, the people who ridicule you for what you buy and what you collect and how you collect, there are the Johnny Five Lives, the Warlords, the Foos, the Gary B's. I could go on and on and on. The Dustin and Nicks. There are so many positive people still left in this community that it's worth fighting for. It's worth staying here for. And I'm not the type to be run off. I enjoy my channel. I enjoy interacting with other collectors, and I'm not going to be run off by people because they tell me what I should and shouldn't do, or how I should and shouldn't collect, what I should and shouldn't buy, because I'm going to buy what I want to buy, and the rest of you, and anybody that thinks I shouldn't or can't should go to hell. Simple as that. And I hope all y'all can feel that way. I don't agree with a lot of stuff that my friends do, but I don't ridicule them for it. Okay, I do a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I ridicule my friends, but it's in fun. It's different. I don't publicly harass them. I don't prod and poke at them until they speak back. And that's what they want, guys. When they post these big long articles about how stupid you are because you picked up a book because of FOMO, and they go on, they want you to fire back because they want to engage. They want that content. They want to continue to humiliate you and degrade you. So just scroll past it and watch. Now, my little disclaimer here, I do not know a tenth of what the majority of the comic book community on here knows. I am not as educated in comic books or business, and I say that because we're going to talk a little bit about that, as a lot of people on here. So you can disagree with everything I say, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with it. I'm not going to shut my comments off. I ask you this: be a decent human being, okay? If you're going to leave me a comment, don't do the very thing that I'm talking about and ridicule me for what I see. This is strictly what I see from my eyes and how I feel. I am in no way saying I'm right. I am in no way saying I'm wrong. I am just saying that this is what I see with my eyes. So take it for what you want, but I really hope that you at least listen to what I have to say, have an open mind, and think about it. Think about what I'm really saying, and then, because maybe you never realized you were doing it. And the people that are doing it, I don't think are bad people. I think they just like the fight. They love the fight. They want the argument. And so for that point, if you want to drop a comment and you want to disagree with me, I'm happy to hear it. And maybe you can point out a few things that I agree with you on, and we can move forward. If you're just going to spew hate and you're just going to get on there and ridicule me and be the very thing that I'm talking about, I'm not going to respond to you. I'm not going to engage with you, so don't waste your time. Move on. Unsubscribe to my channel. and move on, you know. But I want to start with a little backstory about myself. There's some things about me that you probably didn't know. Get a drink because my mouth gets dry really quick. I'm a smoker. Okay. I started collecting in the 90s, like a lot of people did. And as I said, the Death of Superman came out, and that blew me away. I was like, they can't kill Superman. I didn't know then what I know now, that nobody ever dies in comics, that they weren't going to kill Superman. I just thought, oh my God, they can't kill Superman. Where can I get that book? Of course, I missed the boat. I went to a comic book shop and said, hey, I want a copy of The Death of Superman. And he laughed at me. He said, yeah, good luck. You know, this was before eBay. This was before whatnot. This was before you could go online and get whatever you wanted. You know, you just had to hope you could get one at the comic shop. And if you didn't, you just screwed. So he had a copy of the trade paperback. So I bought it and read it, loved it. But I go back to when I started, I was 100% speculator. I saw comic books were selling in his shop. They were selling for hundreds of dollars. And I was like, oh my God, there's money to be made in buying these comic books? 100% speculator. I'm not going to lie. And the guy that ran the shop, the kid that ran the shop, took full advantage of it. He sold me everything. I was spending $100 a week in that comic book store at average. And that's when comics were a buck and a quarter, a buck and a quarter, you know, a piece. So, you know, by today's standards, that ain't $100 ain't shit. Back then, that's a shitload of books. But here's the thing, though. He took full advantage of me. Was it a shitty thing to do? Absolutely. You know, it was a shitty thing to do. He took advantage of someone who didn't know any better, and he capitalized on it. Am I mad? Not really, because what he also did was he put comic books in my hand. And that's the fact, is he put comic books in my hand, and then I read these books. So the more I read these books, the less and less it became about how much money I can make off of them, and more about, I just love these books and I want more and I want more. And lo and behold, he created a collector. Intentionally? No. But inadvertently, he created a collector. And I collected anything and everything that I loved. I just couldn't get enough. I read everything. Read every book I bought. I read it. And I just could not get enough. Was still spending $100 a week on comics. But it was for a different reason now. It wasn't because I thought I was going to get rich off them. It was because I actually truly enjoyed them. And so that's what happened. I mean, that is Stevie B's origin story as a collector. That's how it happened. And that's how it happened for a lot of people. A lot of people in the 90s got into this hobby as pure D speculators. They thought, I'm going to make money off comic books. I'm going to make money off comic books. And a lot of that fueled the boom from the 90s, you know, or late 80s, early 90s. Comic books were booming, and it was booming because people were speculating. You know, they killed Superman, so, oh my God. And then people realized, holy crap, maybe I can make money off of this. And it boomed. I mean, new comics were coming out, new companies were coming out, and it was booming, you know. And it was mainly a lot to do with speculators. It's not because the established collectors who were doing it before just started buying more. It was because people jumped on the bandwagon. But it created, the byproduct of that is it created a whole generation of collectors. But fast forward, I ended up getting out of the hobby for several years. The reason I got out of the hobby was I could not afford it. They were crossover happy. They are too. But I didn't want to buy this comic. I didn't particularly like Fantastic Four comics, so I didn't want to have to buy a Fantastic Four comic because the Spider-Man comics that I did love had a story and it crossed over into that book. So the money just kept going and going up, 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 and I had to shut it down. And then when CGC came out, or not CGC, but professionally graded comics came out, they pretty much, even though I wasn't in it really per se for the money anymore, I still took some pride in my key collection of books that I had. These books that are valuable and that I did get, and were going up in value. And then the grading companies came out and single-handedly just wiped the value of all my books out completely. Nobody wanted them anymore. They all wanted graded books, professionally graded books. And this is what my disdain for professional grading comic books comes from. But that's a whole nother story. But I got out of it. Started collecting action figures for a while because I still love the superheroes. And I always loved the superheroes, even before I got into collecting comics. But I always loved the superheroes. So I wanted to stay kind of in it. So I started collecting action figures. And it got big, and I had tons and tons and tons of action figures. And then I think I've told this story before. One day I was at work, and my wife at the time had a yard sale and decided that since she wasn't going to allow me to display my action figure collections, she was just going to sell them all for like 50 cents a piece, and just wiped out my collection. So you know how you get when you lost everything. You're disheartened, and you just feel like, why bother? I'm not even going to start. I'm just going to quit doing it. I lost everything. There's no point doing it anymore. And that's where I got. So I got out of that for a long time. Fast forward a few years later, I got back into collecting action figures, but I moved past those and started in on statues. There's more statues, Kodabakiyas and stuff like that, which I still buy a couple of few here and there. Still like them. You'll see more on the channel. But I kept doing that, and I still do that to this day. But how I got back into the comic book collecting and why I got onto YouTube, I got onto YouTube, and this is the hard part to talk about. I never really talk about this because it's personal, and I do not want sympathy from anyone or whatever, because we all have problems. We all deal with them in our own way. But I got into a relationship, and the girl that I was in a relationship with, I knew she had some medical issues, and it wasn't a problem. We went out on dates, and she was able to hide, her demons while we were on dates. And I'm not going to go into the whole story. I'm really not trying to throw her, drag her through the mud. She's a wonderful person. Just got problems that so I'm not trying to drag her through the mud. So I'm going to try to get through this short. But we moved in together, and I didn't realize till we moved in together how bad her addiction to prescription pain pills were until we moved in together, and I saw it firsthand, and it was bad. I mean, she was overprescribed, in my opinion, for the problems that she had. 6 Percocets a day, gabapentin, muscle relaxers. I mean, she stayed in a coma for the most part. We never went out. We never did anything. She never hardly left the bedroom, in her recliner, drinking Pepsi, and in a stupor for the most part, to the point where she would pass out with lit cigarettes in her hand, food and plate of food, and just and it was bad. But I got really depressed because I really wanted the relationship to work, and I was really trying. I kept thinking to myself, I can pull her out of it. I can pull her out of it. And but I got into a really deep depression. Excuse me. And I had to find something to occupy my brain. And started watching YouTube videos, because that's what we did. We sat in our chairs aside from each other, didn't talk to each other, didn't do nothing, didn't interact with each other. And my ear plugs in, watch YouTube videos. She would watch her TV shows. And I fell down this rabbit hole. I was like, comic book collectors. And I started watching Comic Fu was one of them. Clint, was one of them. And they were opening up mystery boxes of comic books. And I was like, oh, I miss comic books. Man, I miss comic books. And I said, that sounds like fun. And I was like, but these people opening up these mystery boxes, I mean, are you getting what you paid for them, or are you getting a bunch of crap? So I said, well, maybe that's what I can do to occupy my mind and get me out of this funk, and deal with my depression. So I never expected anything to come of it. I figured it was something I would do for a time being to, like I said, to deal with my depression. And I didn't expect to make any friends, but I didn't expect a bunch of subscribers. I didn't think I would get 20 subscribers, and here I am sitting at 1,100 now, which is phenomenal. I never thought it would happen. But I never thought I'd make any friends. And the first friend I made was Fu. David. Dave, he reached out to me, and we became friends, invited me on the show, and I was excited. I get to be on a live show with somebody and and just chatted up, and we became fast friends. And then gradually through him, I made new friends. They see me on his channel, and we talk about each other, and I made new friends, made other friends. Biggie Shack, welcomed me into the community with open arms, shouted me out, gave me a big subscriber bump, and I thought, oh wow, this is actually happening. I actually got people watching my shit. And then this community opened up to me. Was so welcoming to me. It was crazy. People started sending me stuff in the mail just because they, hey, I didn't have no subscribers. I didn't have 1 million subscribers. They weren't sending it to me because they wanted a shout out to, boost their channel, because I didn't have I didn't have any followers to boost their channel. They just sent it out to me because they were welcoming me to the community. This is how I got, these grails. And a lot of these grails, Fu is responsible for these 2 grails here. Chad RCG and Squatchy were responsible for those 2 grails. And I was like, wow, these people are just like sending me stuff. And then Two Brothers Comics saw a video I made where I tried to do a giveaway, and I technologically challenged and couldn't figure out how to go live and to do my drawing for my giveaway. I was so disappointed. And to this day, I'm still on my phone. But I said, I don't have a laptop or a computer to do all these things. And they sent me a freaking laptop. Who does that? Who does that? I was so overwhelmed by the generosity and the overall welcoming nature of this community that I was just hooked. And I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. So I wanted to try to give back. I don't have the resources that a lot of people have, to get just crazy, but I tried to give back, and I loved the community, and I was all about the community. And so what's changed lately? I don't know. That I think people in general over the last 3 or 4 years have changed in general, and I don't know if it was COVID. Maybe people were cramped up too long, and but I don't know. But people in general just started becoming more and more hateful, and stuff. But community wise, you just seen more and more, or less and less, welcoming committees for members of the community, and more bashing, more and more bullying, and more gatekeeping, and it's just really been disheartening, to the point where, like I said, people have left this community because of it. I don't want to throw any names out there. But there's one. There's one individual that was a huge supporter of this community. He promoted everybody's channels. He tried to. He would do giveaways to gain subscribers, to get people over these benchmarks and stuff. He did all these things for this community, and the community loved him. And then he started selling books, and he was good at it. He was successful, and the same community turned on him, called him dirty flipper, not a real collector, because he's just a seller. He's a flipper. He doesn't collect. And the truth be told, he's a huge collector. He had to fund the hobby. He's spending a lot of money on stuff for his PC. You have to fund the hobby somehow. And that's all he did. But the community turned on him, and it was sad to see. And there's more than one case of this happening. But it just seems like the bigger you get in the community, the more people want to push you off your hill. But talking about flippers. There's a lot of people on here talking about flippers, and there's a difference for me. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Everybody in this community flips books. If you've ever bought a book low and sold it high, you flipped a book. There's nothing wrong with it. What people are pissed off at, I think, are the scalpers. The ones who buy all the books up and then raise the price of them. And you don't get one because you missed out and somebody else bought them all. And then you got to go onto eBay or the secondary market and pay a 300% markup if you want one. And it sucks. I guarantee you. But guys, scalpers are not new to this hobby by any stretch of the imagination. They've always been there. They will always be there. And not just in comic books. In concert tickets, toys. Anytime there is a overwhelming demand and an underwhelming supply, there will be scalpers. When there is a limited supply, you've seen it with Beanie Babies, you've seen it with everything collectible, anything that has, like I said, anytime the supply is less than the demand, you will find scalpers. But to suggest that scalpers are destroying the hobby is like saying ticket scalpers are destroying the music industry. No, they're not. Because let me explain something to you. Your comic book shop, your ticket, your Garth Brooks, they do not care who is buying the tickets. It's not hurting them. If you have an orange stand and you're selling oranges, does it matter to you if one person comes in and buys all the oranges and then sells them for $1 more down the road? No, it doesn't matter to you. You don't care. And it's the same with the comic book community. It's not affecting the comic book community or the hobby. It's not affecting the hobby because people are spending money and buying all the books. It's still sales. Okay? So I mean, let's be honest with yourself. I want you to take a really good hard look at yourself and put yourself in this scenario. I've got 10 copies of ASM 300 in near mint condition. I'm going to sell them on eBay. But I come to you and I say, hey, before I throw these up, I'm going to sell these for $200 a pop on eBay. I bought them at cover price. I kept them pristine. I'm going to make money off of them at $200 a pop. I'm going to sell them on eBay and make a quick buck and get out of it. But if you would like, I'll give you first crack at them at $200 a pop. If you want them, I'll let you have them. I'll let you have a shot at them first before I list them. What are you going to do? What would you do? If you have the opportunity and the resources, the money, if you got $2,000, you're going to buy every single copy of it. You're not going to give a damn about the people on eBay that didn't get one. You're going to buy every single copy of them. And then you're going to keep one for yourself and then sell the other ones possibly. Or send them to CGC, have them professionally graded, and you're going to make bank off of it. But when you do it, it's not a big deal. It's capitalizing on an opportunity, and you're so proud of yourself that you bought this collection and you got a steal for it and you made this much money off of it. Problem is that we don't have 1 million subscribers, so nobody cares that you did it. But when you're in the public eye and you do it, then again, it's a big game of King of the Hill. Whoever's on top, feel like you got to knock them down. And it is a hard pill to swallow, and some of you will hate that I said it. I may even lose some subscribers over it, but it's a fact. You would do probably the same thing. The C2E2 thing that seemed to be the catalyst for a lot of this. Was it shitty that they went in there and tried to corner the market on those books? Yeah, it was shitty. But if you were in first in line and you had $10,000 in your hand and you got first crack, how many copies would you buy? And how many would you have sold? Be honest with yourself. Personally, I would have probably bought myself one to keep and one to flip, get my money back. And there's nothing wrong with that. But we keep harping on these flippers, or that I call them scalpers. Like I said, to me, there's a big difference. But they're not destroying the comic book industry. They're not destroying it. And I'm sorry to say that. They're pissing you off because you didn't have the opportunity and the resources to do what they did first. That's a lot of it. That is a lot of it. Not all of it. And I'm not saying everybody thinks that way. I'm not saying that. I'm saying a lot of people think that way. Because those same people that bitch about flippers are on Instagram, on whatnot, on Facebook Marketplace, on YouTube, and they are selling comic books. There's some of them that the biggest squawkers are on Instagram every single day, comic book auctions. And for them, it's fine for them to do it, but when somebody else does it, that's a little more higher profile or does it more successfully than they are, and then they're dirty flippers and they're scum of the universe. and yet you're on Instagram every day selling books, making thousands of dollars selling books. So I don't understand why you think what gives you the right to look down your nose at somebody else that's doing it. The shitty part about it, and I agree, the shitty part about it is they didn't limit the number you could get. And what I'm guessing has happened, and this is just my opinion, is they were all exhibitors there. They were in there before any of the general public came in, and they probably said, hey, put me back some copies. And what appeared as jumping the line was actually them going and picking up the copies that they got set back for them. My opinion. but you ask yourself honestly, if given opportunity and resources to buy a massive book, like I said, go back to the ASM 300s. If you had a chance to buy 10 copies, near mint copies for $2,000, would you take one and say, I'm not going to be selfish, I'm just going to take one so other people? No, you're going to buy all 10 of them. And that is hypocrisy, folks. I'm sorry. But I don't think that they are hurting the industry. They're putting money into the industry, regardless of whether you like how they do it or don't like it. They're still putting money in the industry. And DC, Marvel, Image, all them guys, they don't care how they get their money as long as they're getting money. And as long as they're getting money, the industry stays alive. So really, who's hurting? Who is it that's really hurting it? You talk about driving the prices up. Don't buy them. They exist because people will buy them. If you don't buy them, they will go away. They're not going to stay in a business that doesn't make money, plain and simple. You have to be willing to do without. You have to be willing to miss that Garth Brooks concert and not pay 10 times the ticket price to go see it. Opportunities will come. Be patient. You have to have some patience. What ended up happening with that shitty Aztec cover? People bitched about not getting a copy of a book that they said was a piece of shit to begin with. And what happened was it blew up so bad, so big, that now that book is infamous and it is going for 1,000 times more than what it should. And that's crazy. But don't be afraid to pass. We're the only ones that can stop the scalpers out there, or us, the consumers, is you don't buy from them. You have to be willing to let it go. There's your FOMO. You have to be willing to let it go. There are books that I've wanted for so long that, prime example, my latest bigger requirement I can't get to. My Forever People #1, First Appearance of Darkseid. Wanted it. Was not going to pay the astronomical price for it. Waited it out. Everything starts to level out. Prices start coming down. And when it got to a point where I could afford it, I got one. Same thing with these exclusives. If you got the money and you can afford to pay it, then pay it. If you wait it out, it's going to come down. Probably not the acetate gate one because it's infamous now. It's historic. But flipping is not new. Yeah, guys, flipping comics is not new. Scalpers are not new. It's not. They've been in this community or whatever from day one, and they'll continue to be there. So, you can't. But they're not killing the hobby. The only reason why we even care is because they're in the public eye. They're bigger. We don't go after Joe Blow when he does it, because he's insignificant. Nobody knows who he is. Who cares? We want to go after the people at the top of the food chain or the top of the hill. and knock them off. So we go after the comic toms, we go after the nerdy girls, we go after the well, you know, the usual suspects that everybody's talking about. And that's who we go after. And it's just like any celebrity. I mean, once they're at the top of the mountain, people have to find something they said 30 years ago or whatever and drag them down. Now, do I agree with what they do? Do I agree with scalpers? No, I don't. That's why I don't support them. So am I saying what they're doing is okay? No, I'm not saying it's okay, but it is part of the hobby that'll always be there. So squawking about it and bitching about it and ridiculing people who support these people is not good, is definitely not helping to grow the hobby. But that, which leads me to the influencers. Yeah, I've taken notes. That's why you see. So I don't want to forget what I was going to say. I have a habit. You'll notice in a lot of my videos, I stammer and stutter a lot because I don't know what to say. That leads me to influencers. Okay. Now, what is an influencer? Okay. You will say it's a person who drives up the prices of comic books by telling people what they should buy. They spec on books. This is a spec book. You should get this because there's a rumor this is going to happen. And they influence the market, so to speak. And they drive the prices up. Now, are they really driving the prices up, or who's driving the prices up? It's consumers. It's the consumers that drive the price up. You're buying them. Don't let people tell you what to buy. You know, they're influencing people, not the market. They're influencing people who then say, hey, he may be right. And then they flood the market, and that drives the price up. So I'm an influencer to a certain extent. I go on here and I say, hey guys, you should pick up The Adventures of the Super Sons #1, because I think this has great potential to be an animated series. And I've said this is me. And for everybody that thought, hey, he may be right, and went out and bought those and realized it was trash and didn't become anything, am I an asshole because I gave you my opinion? No, I just gave you my opinion. You chose to make a decision on whether you thought I was right or thought I was wrong. But I'm going to tell you right now, I speculate on a lot of books because it's fun for me. I've said this before. Speculating is fun. Why is it fun? It's because we all want to be right. I mean, the short answer is we all want to be right. We all want to say, ooh, I think this book is going to be big. And then, boom, all of a sudden it blows up. And you go, I told you so. See, I told you. You know, but for every time I get to do that, and say that, there's 20 times when I get to say, okay, I took a shit on that one. It was wrong. But it's fun for me. It's a gambling addiction kind of. But it's fun for me. It don't go out and buy anything just because I think it's going to blow up. Make up your own mind, But when they talk about speculators, they talk about, again, Comic Toms. They talk about the key collector apps. Basically, anybody that has a large presence in the comic community gets a label. And when they talk about influencers, look, guys, Comic Tom does not make you buy anything. He doesn't say this book is going to be worth, I think this book is going to blow up, and then every selling platform on the planet immediately jacks the price up. No, he says, I think this is going to be a big key. Here's why I think it's going to be a big key. And he gives it, and then people say, yeah, you may be right. And are there a lot of naive collectors out there that are new to the hobby, that are still speculating and still thinking they're going to make their fortune on comic books. And do those people listen to him and buy solely on what that person says? Yeah, they do. I did. Before there was YouTube, my influencers were people at the comic book shop. They took full advantage of me. But he's not making any money off of it, off speculating. He's making money off other endeavors, but he's not making money by saying, I think this book's going to be a big key. He's simply giving an opinion. Now, what you do with that opinion is up to you. But influencers cannot influence people who do not want to be influenced. He doesn't influence me on what I buy. The key collector doesn't influence me on what I buy. Do I listen to it? Yeah. You know what? Who else influences me? Comic Foo, Comic Vantage, Warlord, Johnny Five. Everybody who I watch who has a YouTube channel and a social media presence influences me to a degree. So, prime example, Foo Fur, the comic book, Foo Fur #1. It started as a gag, and we started buying copies of that thing up like crazy. It was a dollar bin book. Now it's sitting at $10. We drove the price up $10 because everybody was like, I gotta get one. That's funny. So, I mean, we can all be influencers to some degree. But here's the thing. I have a key collector app on my phone, and I check it all the time. I look at it all the time. I don't look at it as a grocery list of books to buy. I look at it for information. They have alerts. They tell you, hey, this has been optioned, or this has potential because of this. And it's information. It's a tool. I do not buy everything on their hot 10 list. Some things that they spec on there, some things Comic Tom specs on, I don't agree with. Some things Comic Vantage specs on, I don't agree with. Some things I do. And he's been wrong just as many times as I have, but I don't think he's a piece of shit because he suggested it to me. I'm a grown ass man. I make up my own mind. Comic Foo, I see something in his collection. He's told me before, hey man, you ought to jump on these right now before they blow up. Prime example, first appearance Kilowog and Larfreeze and stuff, some Green Lantern characters. He said, man, these are great keys and they're way undervalued in my opinion. And I was like, wow, I looked up prices. I was like, wow, really? That's how much? That's not bad. And I agreed with him. And I went out and I bought those books because I agreed with him. He didn't force me to buy those books. He made a suggestion and I agreed with his suggestion and I went out and purchased those books. If they flop and they ain't worth a shit, I'm not going to blame it on him. I'm not going to say, well, you're a dirty influencer and you gave me bad information. No, I'm just going to say, hey, you took a shot and you missed. It happens. But so I don't hate these people. I use them as the tools, but they're at the top of the food chain, so everybody wants to knock them down. The Comic Tom, the Key Collector app, even Nerdy Girl. I don't even know why people are crapping on Nerdy Girl. I'm not a fan of Nerdy Girl, but I'm not a fan, not because she sells comic books, because we all sell comic books. And just because she's successful at it isn't grounds for me to not like her. Not a fan of her because, quite frankly, she really contributes nothing to the comic book community. She, no bones about it, she'll tell you. She buys and sells comic books, but she doesn't provide any useful information or no content, no entertainment value. She shows off her books and she sells books on Whatnot. So to me, she's not even a factor into any of this. So that's what I think about her. but but and then there's the speculators. I spec. I love spec. Like I said, I've said it before. We all spec to a certain degree. We don't bank on it all the time like some people do. Some people are banking on it again, trying to make those millions. But speculators, are they destroying the hobby? No. One could argue that the reason why comic books are still alive and breathing is because of speculators. In the 90s boom, thousands and thousands of speculators jumped on board, and it blew the comic book industry up. It was making money and it was thriving mainly because of speculators. The current collectors didn't all of a sudden decide, hey, I'm gonna buy more stuff. No, it's just it boomed. Why did it crash? You say after the 90s when the boom was over? Because fads come and go, and that's what comic books were at the time. It was a speculation. It was a fad. People jumped on board when they realized that they couldn't make millions and millions of dollars flipping comic books. Then they fell off, but but not all of them did. Me, for example, I didn't fall off. So those speculators, what happened was all those people that speculated and jumped on board and got on jumped on board the train. Some of them stayed and became collectors, because they realized how cool books were. And that's not bad for the community. It's not. It's not destroying the community. Today's current boom, does it have anything to do with scalpers, or does it have anything to do with influencers? No, I would suggest that it has more to do with the movies. Let's face it, comic book properties are at the forefront. They're at the top of the food chain when it comes to movies and stuff. Love them or hate them, you can't deny they are making fistfuls of money, and they're bringing people into the hobby. They're bringing them in as speculators, a lot of them. It's true, and we're seeing that spike. It's not coincidental that you've seen the amount of superhero comic book movies kind of taper off. There's not one coming out every 3 months like there was in the beginning. It's kind of tapered off to where you're lucky if you get one or two a year. And the cost of those books, the price of books on the secondary market is starting to level out too. It's not a coincidence. It's because if it isn't in your face, you lose interest in it pretty fast. So I would argue that's what's the speculators are what caused the boom. Now, is there going to be a crash? Probably. It's going to be a crash, but Marvel Phase 5's coming back out, and it'll probably spike back up again with a whole new generation of speculators jumping on board, jumping on the bandwagon. And I just can't see that is harming the industry, harming the collector community, or the hobby. You get this. You get speculators, everything goes up, and then the speculators are up here, and the comic book collectors are down here. But then the speculators taper off, but not all of them. Some of them stay. So then the collectors come up. And the more collectors there are in this community, the better it is for business. As I said, nobody cares where the money comes from or why. It's all about money. That's what keeps the industry alive. That's what keeps the hobby alive. It's all economics. To suggest that it is somebody with a YouTube channel that is controlling the hobby, controlling the industry is ridiculous. Not saying that there isn't some kind of little fluctuation that might, you know, but these people are insignificant, as insignificant to comic book properties, to Warner Brothers, to Sony. They're as insignificant to them as someone like me is to YouTube. It doesn't affect anything. So, but I love the spec. I think it's fun. It's part of the hobby that I enjoy. I'm wrong 90% of the time, but every once in a while, I hit one out of the park, and I don't do it because I plan on flipping the books. I do it because, like I said, I enjoy it. My latest stuff, I went after the Ben Reilly clone stuff, and because I thought, man, they just will not let this Ben Reilly shit go. So they must be planning something. And I went out and got those keys, those Ben Reilly keys, and now it's trending up. And am I thinking dollar signs in my head? No, I'm thinking, cool, I was right for once, and it's fun. It's part of the hobby. So before y'all light me up in the comments, I can hear y'all already calling me a hypocrite. And for those of you that are calling me a hypocrite, you are right to a certain extent. Have I flipped books before? Yeah, I'll continue to do it. I'm still trying to flip some. I'm still trying to sell a mystery box. This hobby is expensive, and I don't make very much money. So, sometimes you got to sell to fund the hobby. Or have I been an influencer? Possibly not a significant enough one to really hurt anybody. Have I been a gatekeeper? I suppose I ridicule my friend Ryan, and I ridicule a lot of my friends in the comic book community about some things. I ridicule Ryan about graded books, but it's in fun. And I ridicule people for buying Valiant books and everybody, but this has become a running gag. I don't hate anybody that buys Valiant books. I don't think you're stupid for buying Valiant books. No, I don't enjoy Valiant. I never did. Even in the 90s, in the height of my collecting, I didn't like Valiant. But I am in no way, shape, or form ridiculing anyone, not maliciously. I do it in joking fun amongst friends. I don't do it publicly. I don't make YouTube content and say, if you're buying Valiant books, you're an idiot and you're wasting all your money. I don't get on there and say, if you're getting your books slabbed, you're an idiot. I've been very outspoken about my dislike for graded comics, but I have never ridiculed anyone who enjoys comics or who enjoys having their comics graded. I'm not a speculator, absolutely, all the way. Have I ever bullied anyone on here? No, I've never bullied anyone, and I won't. But here's me, like I said, stripped down, no characters. I'm telling you right now, I never made anyone feel like shit for what they collect, how they collect, what they like, what they don't like. I've never done that. I never will. I've always had this philosophy that I lived with. If it doesn't personally affect me or my family, it's none of my business what you do. I want people to enjoy their hobby, and I want people to enjoy it, the way they feel like they should enjoy it. To quote Two Brothers Comics, collect your way. It's simple, it's to the point, and it's 100% accurate. Do not let the gatekeepers keep you down. And don't be a gatekeeper. Don't be a bully. You know, collect what you like, support who you like, and if somebody is into something you're not into, if somebody buys a book for whatever reason that they buy it and you think it's a stupid purchase, then who cares? Who asked you? You know, simple as that. So, how do we save this community? Really, what do we got to do? And honestly, number one, if you do not like how a person collects, how a person sells, what a person buys, how a person buys, don't support that person. You don't have to be an evil bastard about it. You don't have to feel the need to go on social media and cut them up. There's no need for it. You don't accomplish anything. They're still going to do what they do. Um, and they're not doing anything new. All these people we talked about, speculators, influencers, scalpers, flippers, whatever you want to call them, it's not going to stop them. As long as there's money in it, how you stop them is to take away their money. Okay? But we've got to quit gatekeeping. Go back to the way this community was as early as 3 years ago. We welcomed everybody in. Gary B, the casual comic guy, I envy him because he was able to stick to what I wanted to do way, way better than I did it. I just honestly, I felt that when I did it, that I really wasn't making as big a difference as he is, but he shouts out community members and stuff like that. He's trying to grow this community. And I think going forward in 2023, my wish for this community is to live and let live. Really, do you. Let other people do them. And stop gatekeeping. Stop telling people what they need to do and ridiculing people for how they collect. My collection, how I collect, I don't know, from one week to another. I get on a kick. One week it was ooh, I'm gonna put all the Frank Miller Daredevil stuff run together. I want to do that. And then a week later, it's like, I'm over it. I'm going to collect all the Brian Boland stuff. I want to get all the Maximum Carnage. I want to get all the Maximum Carnage. I want to get that whole run. And then, and then I'm like, squirrel. And I move on to something else. And then I come back to it later, but just think to yourself, man, if somebody ridiculed you for the way you participate in the hobby as hard as you ridicule them, how would you feel about it? Most of us in this community, we were nerds. We grew up, we went through school, comic book geeks, or, we liked Superman, we liked Batman, and we were geeks. And, a lot of us got bullied for it. So don't get into a place where you have a platform to bully other people. It's not helping the community. You scream about community and comic book family and all this, and yet you stand at the door and push people out of that community. This community should be welcoming to anyone, regardless of what they collect, how they collect, and how they choose to interact or to engage in the hobby. Because let's face it, we don't go after the small fries. We only go after the big guys. And then if one of these days you're going to be the big guy, I've seen it happening to some of the channels that are gradually growing. All of a sudden, the more you grow, the more negative stuff comes out about you and the more under ridicule you submit yourself to. And just don't be that person. You know, think to yourself, does this make me a decent human being? And I know a lot of you are thinking, oh, I'm blowing the whistle on these people. You're not blowing the whistle. Look, if you're going to post that scalpers are out there, that's not a news revelation. It's not a revelation. You're going to post about the corruption in CGC and the big factory, the greatest comic. It's not a news revolution. You're not exposing anything that hasn't been there since the beginning. Sorry, hate to, to take your Pulitzer away from you, but you're not exposing anything. All you're doing is shining a spotlight on yourself, saying, look at me, And I know you're going to say, well, what are you doing with this video? Again, not doing it to shine a spotlight on myself. I'm insignificant in this community. I'm just a small fish in a huge pond. I'm doing it because I really love this community. And I don't think anyone would argue with me when I say that I see it disintegrating and I see the fractures popping up. I see more and more hatred in this community in the last couple years than was there even just 2 years ago. And I hate it. But I'm not going to run. I don't do this as much as I love and appreciate the people who support my channel and subscribe to my channel. At one point, I'm not going to lie, I thought, ooh, it'd be cool if I could make a little money off this channel and help support the content because it costs a lot of money. But I didn't do it because I thought I could be a rich YouTuber. I told you why I did it. Why I stayed is because of the community. Again, it's a family and families fight. You don't hate the family. You hate the situation. That's what I would like to see. I'd like to see us contain the situation and defuse it before there's no more community. The comic book community is different to me than comic book collectors. This, the comic book community is just what it is. It's a community. We all should be there for each other. We all should work together. If you don't like what somebody's doing, so what? Move on. Do you. Don't like them, don't watch their shit. Don't buy their shit. It's that simple. It really is. It really is as simple as changing the channel. Don't support people you don't like. If you don't like my content, don't support my content. If you hate what I have to say, you have every right to not support me. And I hate to see you go, and I'm hoping that, people can be adults about it and disagree in a civilized manner without, resulting to, hateful comments and name calling or whatever. Because I'm not going to engage you. Like as I said, I'm not going to engage you. I'll even put a little heart on there. There you go. But I'm not going to argue back and forth with you and give you what you want. I'm not going to engage you. I'm happy to hear your opinions. And I'm sure there are a lot of people who disagree with a lot of what I said. Once again, as I said in the disclaimer, my opinion, my eyes, I can only look through my eyes. I can't look through yours. And what I see through my eyes is what I've addressed. I know this has been an hour-long video. There was a lot of things I wanted to cover. Like I said, who am I to say anything? Like I said, I say it 100 times. I'm insignificant in the grand scheme of the comic book community. Nobody asked for my opinion, but it's just something that has weighed on me for a long time, and I felt bad. You'll notice my content on my channel has dipped slowly. Mystery boxes are gone. And I've always said that I will continue to do the YouTube channel until it was no longer fun. And I see it getting less and less fun. as I do it, but I still love it and I still want to do it. And I still enjoy interacting and trying to entertain you guys. You know, I'm not that funny. I really ain't. I'm not a stand-up comic. I'm just an old fart. I don't know why people call me crabby though. Everybody says he's a grumpy old man. He's just a man. I think I'm pretty upbeat, other than this video. But anyway, hey guys, like I said, I wish nothing for the best, but the very best for everybody in this community for 2023. I would love to see this community go back to what it was before. A welcoming community, open to anybody, to share their love for comic books. Because that's what it's really all about, isn't it? We all love comic books for one reason or another, and that's what we should focus on. But that's going to do it. Well, a little shameless plug. Stay tuned come back for my next haul. There is some, I guess the winter weather has slowed the mail down through certain areas. So my Midtown stuff has made it to Kansas City and then turned around and went backwards to Des Moines, and God knows when I'll get it. But I'm going to try to do a video tomorrow or Monday. This is Saturday. It's New Year's Eve. Hopefully I'll get this uploaded before I go to bed, but you may wait till tomorrow. But anyway, nothing but love for you guys. No matter how you collect, no matter what you collect, no matter what, love this community. I want to see it grow. I want to see everyone feel welcomed into it and not feel ridiculed and bullied when they come into it. So once again, ask yourself, would a decent human being do this? If it were being done to me, would I consider the person that's doing it a decent human being? And if the answer is no, then don't do it. Just live and let live. Let people collect what they want, and you collect what you want. Do your thing. Let them do theirs. Don't support it. Don't support it. Simple as that. That's going to do it, guys. Wish you all one hell of a happy new year. Please be safe. Don't go out on amateur night. Roadblocks everywhere. If you think you can drink and drive and get away with it, don't, because just don't. Okay? I want you to be safe, because it ain't about your safety always. Sometimes it's about someone else's. And what keeps me from doing it in my head is not hurting myself, but hitting a car with a baby in it, some kids, and killing a family. Don't take that risk. It ain't yours to take. Happy New Year. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.